Hey, fellow film fans, Eglantine here with Dalton, the Authenticator, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. This movie was much, much better than the last movie I reviewed for this channel.
No, it wasn't, but we'll we'll talk about it. Yeah, you and I definitely disagree on the menu. I still haven't put my review up. I thought it was a master class, but you obviously just thought it was crap. But we're not here to talk about the menu. We are here to talk about Violent Night, starring David Harbour. David Harbour is an actor. I got to tell you, sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. I think it's more of a thing like when he's in front of a camera, he can't shut up about politics. I wish they could. But the thing is, I love him in Stranger Things. I didn't think he was horrible in Hellboy. I thought the script was, but he wasn't.
Yeah,
And
let's not put that at the feet of David Harbour. That goes at the feet of Christopher Marshall or whatever the frick his name was.
Here we have him playing Santa Claus, and the first time we see him, he is drinking, and there's other Santa Clauses around him drinking and everything, and you could tell that he's kind of losing his faith in Christmas, which I've noticed. I've noticed a few movies like this. One of them, on the other hand, I haven't told you the first hand, but one of them that I saw recently was Year Without a Santa Claus, and it was like, oh, I don't think anybody likes Christmas anymore, which is what David Harbour's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up in a house where a whole bunch of bad guys are trying to steal money, and he sees and finds out that there's a little girl hostage, and so he decides to open up a Santa sack full of whoop ass. And that's the basic premise, guys. And if you think any more the story's going to get any deeper than that, you are sorely mistaken.
Yeah, no, it's John Wick, but if John Wick was being played by Santa, the real Santa.
I got one more for you, sir. Like you mentioned John Wick, this isn't John Wick. This is the script to White House Down, starring Gerard Butler. And give me a moment, okay? Gerard Butler is a bodyguard, okay? Or he was a Secret Service agent. Let me finish and then comment. He was a Secret Service agent, so he was a little bit set apart from the norm, okay? In this movie, you have Santa Claus, obviously set apart from the norm. And in White House Down, the president's the White House is broken into. The president is taken hostage. In this one, a rich person's mansion is broken into, and this little girl is taken hostage. Now, of course, there are other hostages, but the little girl's talking to Santa, and that's what matters. And so in White House Down, Gerard Butler goes room to room, taking out all of the bad guys one by one until he gets to the big bad guys. And of course, all hell breaks loose. In this movie, Santa Claus goes room to room, one by one, until, of course, he gets to the big bad guy where all hell breaks loose. This is the script to White House Down. No, Olympus Has Fallen, not White House Down. Olympus Has Fallen.
I was gonna say this sounds more like Olympus Has Fallen to me, but
yeah,
I don't watch
exactly.
very many of those
I just got those
movies. So
I love Olympus Has Fallen, and that's actually what kind of carried me through here. This movie is an incredibly flawed film. I want to say that out front, but it's so damned entertaining.
Yeah, it's a B movie, but it makes no apologies for being a B movie, and it leans into it as much as it feasibly can get away with. Now, granted, there are moments where I wish they had gone just the teeniest bit further, and we'll get into that maybe if we get into some spoilers. But
well, there will be spoilers.
I really enjoyed this movie. Like I say, I kind of put it in like it's as though somebody took the Krampus movie from a couple of years ago and took a John Wick movie and put them in a blender. That's basically what we're working with here. And I gotta say I kind of love that.
So obviously it's called Violent Night. This is a very violent film. This is a rated R film. It's a very rated R movie. I said it has some flaws. So let me get past this. I don't think this, I didn't see it yesterday, so I can't do one of those where we go through the plot bit by bit like we normally do. But that being said, it starts off, he's got a little problem with his magic, which also we saw in Santa Claus, another movie we need to talk about, or TV show. But he has a little problem with his magic, like it's a little not 100%. He has no control of the reindeer in this movie. He seems to not understand how his own magic works, and how much damage can he take? You know, there's no rules to what he can do, and that was one thing I thought they kind of dropped the ball on. You know, show us what he can do, so when he's losing his magic, maybe we understand the loss a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen, if you're going to introduce magic, a little bit more of a magical Santa Claus that's kicking all sorts of ass. I know that turns into a kind of a superhero movie, but yeah, I don't know. It's Santa Claus.
That's exactly where I'm at with it. Like, that was the one plot mechanic I didn't particularly like, the idea of him halfway losing his magic, because I'm like, if you're going to do this premise of Santa Claus, you know, John Wick style vigilante, I want to see Santa Claus in his full glory.
Yeah,
basically being like number 5 from Umbrella Academy. That's what I kept thinking. That's what I wanted this movie to be, was Santa Claus Yule-tidedly bamfing all over the place, basically showing these criminals up to be, you know, the punks that they are. Essentially, kind of like Kevin McAllister does with Harry and Marvin Home Alone. That's what I kind of wanted to happen. But because his magic waxes and wanes throughout the movie based on how invested he is in the season, you don't really ever get the number 5 from Umbrella Academy style Yuletide bamfing all over the place. And I kind of wanted that, because, and this is something I wish they had played with more. If you just go down the list of powers that Santa Claus would necessarily need to have in order to do what he does on the regular basis, you know, in a world where he exists, even though obviously Santa doesn't usually use it as a tactical thing, there's quite a lot of, to use a Marvel Comics term, Omega level stuff there. There's the manipulation of time, there's teleportation, there's conjuring of objects, there's all these kind of things that a Santa would necessarily have to be able to do. And we don't get to see him do most of it because his magic is on the fritz for a lot of the movie.
Speaking of the magic stuff we've seen in other movies, if you there was a Kurt Russell Christmas movie that came out a little bit ago. I forget what it's called. Say again?
Batman. I think it was
no, that's Batman. Mel Gibson. That's Mel Gibson. This Kurt Russell is on Netflix.
Christmas Chronicles.
Chronicles, cool. Yeah. It shows him basically apparating through chimneys and all that kind of stuff. So when he needs to move quickly, he kind of does that. I like that. I also like how disarming it can be when, and they use this a little bit, when Santa Claus knows everybody. You know, he has a relationship with us because he knows when we're sleeping, when we're awake, if we're good and bad, and so forth and so on. And
he remembers everyone who's ever been a child, which, spoiler alert, is everyone. So
yeah. So seeing him do that in this movie, I kind of liked that. That's what made me want to see more. If he can do that, let's do the other stuff. He does put his finger on his nose and he whips up a chimney. At one point in time, he does it at the right moment, and we see what happens if a human body is squeezed up a chimney. It is a lot of fun. It's very violent. And like I said, like we are agreeing, I would have liked to have seen a more magical Christmas, a more magical Santa Claus going after him, which also leads to, when are we going to get our Santa versus Krampus movie? But
that's the other thing. I want a Violent Night 2 Naughty versus Nice, which is him versus Krampus. That neneeds to be a thing. That would
be awesome. Well, David Harbour versus basically what would turn out to be Hellboy. I think that would be kind of cool. And
if they were smart, they'd play with that too.
One thing this movie also does, look, he's trying to save this little girl, but there are other hostages. One of them's Beverly D'Angelo from the Christmas Vacation movie and the other vacation movies. If you're wondering who the old lady is, that's Beverly D'Angelo.
And she's basically playing this character as though she's like Cruella de Vil meets Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada, and it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, she's not a good person, and if you actually really pay attention, there are no good characters except for this little girl and Santa Claus. And Santa Claus has given us his background, and he's not exactly a nice guy, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, he was a Norse warrior who was he is John Wick. He's the boogeyman. He's the guy you go in and when you need him to basically, if you need everyone killed, he's the descent.
Yeah,
right?
And here's the thing: we never really get his full like backstory. We get that he was a Viking at some point, but that's literally it. If I can put a bug in the ears of the writers for the inevitable sequel, where we'll hopefully get more of his backstory, have him get his powers from Odin, because Odin in Norse mythology is said to, among many other roles that he has, be the Yule Father, and much of the Santa Claus iconography comes from Odin functioning in the guise of the Yule spirit. So that would be a nice way to tie in the Viking backstory and also the legacy of Santa Claus.
One thing I didn't there's an inconsistent, like I said, this, I don't know why I'm yawning all of a sudden, but there is an inconsistency to the movie, and that's its biggest flaw. Once again, it comes with power levels. How powerful is this Santa Claus? We see him have trouble taking out a lot of soldiers. So it's like, is he this powerful, that power? What can he do? What can he not do? And at one point in time, he, of course, tells a backstory about how he had this hammer and he could kill a lot of people with it. And he finds a hammer, and all of a sudden, he doesn't have any trouble. It's like he had trouble with one guy, but when like 10 guys come into a room, he finds a hammer, and now all of a sudden,
it appears to be all about his confidence level and also his like faith in both himself and Christmas or Yule as a holiday.
Yeah, but it's not. It never gives him armor to the point where he can't take damage, because we see that happen throughout as well, where he is constantly taking damage. This is not an invulnerable Santa Claus, which I kind of like. At the end, they are really talking about, are we going to kill Santa Claus? Are we crushing Christmas? And it's a little bit, it does add to the tension of the movie. God damn.
Yeah, it's like, are you really going to be the one responsible for killing Santa Claus, sir?
I'll be right back.
Is that what we're doing?
Say what you need to. You have the floor while I kill the bird.
Yeah, but that is a key feature of this movie, whereby the main pseudo Hans Gruber, let's not be pretentious about it, he's basically filling the same role as Hans Gruber did in Die Hard. He has a bone to pick with the idea of Santa, because of course, as per usual in these kind of situations, he didn't get the thing he wanted, and it ruined his childhood, and yada yada yada. So he does actually have a bone to pick with Santa, and so when the opportunity comes up, he's like, well, yeah, actually, I'm going to. And then, of course, by that point, the bond with the little girl has restored enough of Santa's faith in himself and or Christmas that he's able to recover a significant portion of his magic, and everything.
And I like those. I like those scenes. I like those scenes. I think they're kind of nice. Let's move over to John Leguizamo, who plays the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's totally not Hans Gruber, as I was just saying.
Oh, no, not at all. But he is definitely a scene chewer. He is going to town on all of the scenery. There is not a bit that he does not chew on. He is loving this, by the way. He is loving playing the bad guy.
Feasting on the scenery as though it's a gingerbread house.
Oh yeah. He takes every opportunity to go. If this is good acting, maybe he's thinking, you know what? Al Pacino yells and gets an Oscar. Maybe I'll take it to here. No, you know what? Let me take it to here. And it's just, it really is an over the top performance. And it works.
But it works in the same way that Marv and Harry from Home Alone work, for example. You know, the famous Joe Pesci bit.
Yeah, he's really good in this, I think, mainly because it's like they know what they set out to make, and so they have to put in this kind of effort to make it, and they do. once again,
They're like, we know what movie we're in, so let's just make the best version of what we're in.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have, like I said, it's a flawed but entertaining movie overall. Will it be a Christmas classic? I don't know if you watch movies like Krampus or Rare Exports or anything like that.
Krampus is one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Yeah, so you watch it every year. Actually, so do I, and I do watch Rare Exports. There, before we get too close to Christmas, I'll watch what I call the non-Christmas movies, and I always put in the Christmas horror at the beginning of the month as well. So I've already watched Krampus.
Santa's Slave is another one, the one where he's a demon who lost a bet with an angel many hundred years ago. And so on.
That one's a lot of fun. This one, we'll see. I'll give it another watch. Gail hasn't seen it yet, so I'll watch it with her. She's usually the arbiter of what becomes a household viewing. Like, she won't watch Batman Returns with me. That's a freaking Christmas movie. But yeah, I know, right? So I have to watch it on my own. Anyway, look, we have a rating system. 1 and 2 is horrible. 3 and 4 is bad. 5 and 6, that's average. 7 and 8 is good. 9 and 10 is awesome, or as people like to say now, S tier. Dalton, where would you put this movie?
I'm giving it an 8. I know there are B movie flaws in it, and there are, but I think they set out to make a really badass Christmas B movie, and what they gave us was a really badass Christmas B movie. And the only problems I have with it are you didn't exploit the premise enough. So make this a franchise, and then once this movie becomes the Christmas John Wick franchise, basically, they can go further in the next one and the one after that, and presumably eventually do a Krampus versus Santa movie. Please, for the love of all things Yuletide.
So we're saying here, because I think I'm in agreement with you, that unlike other movies that they seem to do a film and then they lose their minds and go off and do crazy, you think it'll work with it. You think this is the next movie should be Violent Night Gremlins 2, where it just goes bonkers.
I mean, sans the alien thing, because the alien thing in Gremlins 2 didn't work for me at all. But
okay.
Yeah, basically just do this and do infinitely more of this, and for the love of God, next time around, no nerfing his powers. I want to see him be the Yuletide equivalent of 5 from Umbrella Academy meets John Wick. I want that. Let him go full Omega level Santa Claus on their asses.
What was the number grade again?
I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7.
I really like this
one. I'm gonna go 7. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the video, by all means, let us know, where would you put this? Once again, 1 and 2 is horrible. 3 and 4 is bad. 5 and 6 is average. 7 and 8 is good, and 9 and 10 is awesome. So what number would you give this movie? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. And comment. That just helps out the algorithm.
It helps the algorithm, folks. We are all slaves to the algorithm. All hail the algorithm.
And share so we can actually get a few more subs and some more people watching. Either way, thank you very, very much for watching. And I don't have a tag for this one. We'll see you in the movies. I don't know what to say about the end. But anyway, once again, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
So you know what